A Wizard of Earthsea, Chapter 2, continued. Ogayon speaking. Think of this, that every word, every act of our art is said and is done either for good or for evil. Before you speak or do, you must know the price that is to pay. Driven by his shame, Jed cried, "How am I to know these things when you teach me nothing? Since I have lived with you, I have done nothing, seen nothing." "Now you have seen something," said the mage, "by the door, in the darkness, when I came in." Jed was silent. Ogayon knelt down and built a fire on the hearth and lit it, for the house was cold. Then, still kneeling, he said in his quiet voice, "Jed, my young falcon, you are not bound to me or to my service. You did not come to me, but I to you. You are very young to know this choice, but I cannot make it for you. If you wish, I will send you to Roke Island, where all high arts are taught. Any craft you undertake to learn, you will learn, for your power is great. Greater even than your pride, I hope. I will keep you here with me, for what I have is what you lack, but I will not keep you against your will. Now choose between Ray Albie and Roke." Jed stood dumb, his heart bewildered. He had come to love this man Ogayon, who had healed him with a touch, and who had no anger. He loved him, and had known, and had not known it until now. He looked at the oaken staff leaning in the chimney corner, remembering the radiance of it that had burned out evil from the dark, and he yearned to stay with Ogayon, to go wandering through the forests with him, long and far, learning how to be silent. Yet other cravings were in him that would not be stilled, the wish for glory, the will to act. Ogayon's seemed a long road towards mastery, a slow bypath to follow, when he might go sailing before the sea winds straight to the inmost sea, to the Isles of the Wise, where the air was bright with enchantments, and the Archmage walked amongst wanderers. Where the air was bright with enchantment, and the Archmage walked amidst wonders. "Master," he said, "I will go to Roke." So a few days later, on the sunny morning of spring, Ogayon strode beside him down the steep road from the Overfell, 15 miles to the great port of Gaunt. There, at the land gate between the carven dragons, the guards of the city of Gaunt, seeing the mage, knelt with bared swords and welcomed him. They knew him and did him honor by the prince's order and their own will, for 10 years ago Ogayon had saved the city from earthquake that would have shaken the towers of the rich down to the ground and closed the channel of the armed cliffs with an avalanche. He had spoken to the mountain of Gaunt, calming it, and had stilled the trembling precipices of the Overfell as one soothes a frightened beast. Jed had heard some talk of this, and now, wondering to see the armed guardsman kneel to his quiet master, he remembered it. He glanced up almost in fear at this man who had stopped an earthquake, but Ogayon's face was quiet, as always. They went down to the quays, where the harbor master came hastening to welcome Ogayon and to ask what service he might do. The mage told him, and at once he named a ship bound for the inmost sea, aboard which Jed might go as passenger. "Or they will take him as windbringer, he said, "if he has the craft. They have no weather worker aboard." He has some skill with mist and fog, but none with sea winds, the mage said, putting his hand lightly on Jed's shoulder. Do not try any tricks with the sea and the winds of the sea, Sparrowhawk. You are a landman still. Harbor Master, what is the ship's name? Shadow, from the end Shadow, from the Andrades, bound to the Hort town with furs and ivories. A good ship, Master O'Garion. The mage's face darkened at the name of the ship, but he said, So be it. Give this writing to the warden of the school on Roke, Sparrowhawk. Go with the fair wind. Farewell. This was all his parting. He turned away and went striding up the street, away from the quays. Jed stood forlorn and watched his master go. Come along, lad, said the harbor master, and took him down the waterfront to the pier where Shadow was making ready to sail. It might seem strange that on an island 50 miles wide, in a village under cliffs that stare out forever on the sea, a child may grow to manhood, never having stepped in a boat or dipped his finger in salt water. But so it is. Farmer, goat herd, cattle herd, hunter or artisan, the landman looks at the ocean as at a salt, unsteady realm, that has nothing to do with him at all. The village 2 days' walk from his village is a foreign land, and the island, a day's sail from his island, is a mere rumor. Misty hills seen across the water, not solid grounds like that he walks on. So to Jed, he had never been down to the heights of the mountain, So to Jed, who had never been down from the heights of the mountain, the Port of Gaunt was an awesome and marvelous place. The great houses and towers of cut stone, and waterfront of piers and docks and bases and moorages. The seaport where 100 boats and galleys rocked at quayside, or lay hauled up and overturned for repairs, or stood out at anchor in the roadstead with furled sails and closed oarports, the sailors shouting in strange dialects, and the longshoremen running, heavy laden amongst barrels and boxes and coils of ropes and stacks of oars, the bearded merchants in furred robes and conversing quietly as they picked their way along the slimy stones above the water, the fishermen unloading their catch, coopers pounding, and shipmakers hammering, and clam sellers singing, and shipmasters bellowing, and beyond all the silent, shining bay. With eyes and ears and mind bewildered, he followed the harbor master to the broad deck where Shadow was tied up, and the harbor master brought him to the master of the ship. With few words spoken, the ship's master agreed to take Jed as passenger to Roke, since it was a mage that asked it, and the harbor master left the boy with him. The master of the Shadow was a big man and fat, in a red cloak trimmed with Palawa fur, such as Andradian merchants wear. He never looked at Jed, but asked him in a mighty voice, "Can you work weather, boy?" "I can." "Can you bring the wind?" He had to say he could not, and with that the master told him to find a place out of the way and to stay in it. Damn it. The oarsmen were coming aboard now, for the ship was to go out in the road steady before night fell, and sail with the ebb tide near dawn. There was no place out of the way, but Jed climbed up as well as he could onto the bundled, lashed, and hide-covered cargo in the stern of the ship, and clinging there, watched all that passed. The oarsmen came leaping aboard, sturdy men with great arms, while longshoremen rolled water barrels thundering out the dock and stowed them under the rowers' benches. The well-built ship rode low with her burden, yet danced a little on the lapping shore waves, ready to be gone. Then the steersman took his place at the right of the stern post, looking forward to the ship's master, who stood on a plank let in at the jointure of the keel with the stem, which was carved as the old serpent of Andrade. The master roared his orders hugely, and Shadow was untied and towed clear of the docks by 2 laboring rowboats. Then the master's roar was, "Open ports!" And the great oars shot rattling out, 15 to a side. The rowers bent their strong backs, while a lad up beside the master beat the stroke on a drum. Easy as a gull, easy as a gull, oared by her wings, the ship went on, and the noise and hurly-burly of the city fell away suddenly behind. They came out in the silence of the waters of the bay, and over them rose the white peak of the mountain, seeming to hang above the sea. In the shallow creek in the lee of the southern armed cliff, the anchor was thrown over, and there they rode the night. Good night, River.